This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Bruchim Habayim to the Koilel Iger de Perka. This is the Kew Garden Hills branch, and I'm actually in Cedarhurst right now because of this the Matzav. But Baruch Hashem, we still have this venue to be able to learn together. So we're going to be learning today the subject, actually two different topics, and we're going to be learning about Chodesh Nissan and the importance and the kedusha of Chodesh Nissan. And this is going to be coming from the Sefer Maggid Harakiah on Nissan and Pesach, which came out recently. And if anybody wants to actually get a hold of a copy, so what you do is you could go on to TorahAnytime.com, go to the speakers, go to Glatstein, and there's a link there. You could order the Sefer to anywhere in the United States with free shipping for $20. So if you want the Sefer, or you know somebody who might want it, please go there, and that's what we're going to be learning from. And let's begin. We know that the halacha is that we don't say Tachnon in Chodesh Nissan. We don't say Tachnon in Chodesh Nissan. Now, what is the source of this? The source is Masechta Soifrim. Parak Chaf Aleph in Masechta Soifrim. He brings that the minog of our Rabbi Seinu in the West, they fast 3 days. The 3 days of fasting of Mordechai and Esther, separate fast days. And then after Purim, they fast Monday, Thursday, and Monday. But they don't fast during Chodesh Nissan. Why don't they fast during Chodesh Nissan? Says Masechta Soifrim. Because on the first day of Nissan, the Mishkan was put up. And the 12 Nesiim brought their karbanos, each day designated for a specific shevet. And when each Nasi brought its carbon, it was a Yom Tov for it. And likewise, says Masechta Soifrim, La'asad Lavai, the Mishkan is going to be built in Nissan. Like it says, Ein Kol Chodosh Tachas HaShemesh. Therefore, we don't say Tachnon the whole Nissan, and we don't fast until Nissan is over. Now, this halacha is brought in the Mechaber and Siman Tav Chav Tes of Beis, that Ein Noiflan Al Pneihem B'chol Chodesh Nissan, and we don't say Tzidkascha, and we don't give eulogies, and we don't fast in Chodesh Nissan. Now, let's analyze this for a moment. It's a davar pashut that we don't say Tachnon on Yom Tov. So we have in Eretz Yisrael, you have 7 days of Yom Tov plus Isru Chag. You have Erev Yom Tov, so that's 9 days. In Chutz Haaretz you have 10 days. But why should it be that we don't say Tachnon the whole month? After all, the majority of the month doesn't really have a reason not to say Tachnon. So the Beis Yosef explains, and it's brought in the Magen Avram, that the first 12 days of the month, the 12 Nesiim brought karbanos, and every day you bring a carbon as a Yom Tov. So that's 12 days. Then Erev Yom Tov is the 13th day. Then 7 days of Pesach is another 7 days. That's 20 days. Plus Isru Chag, 21 days. Says the Beis Yosef, quoted by Magen Avram, Yatsa Roiv HaChodesh B'Kedusha. The majority of the month has already attained the status of Kedusha. Therefore, we make the entire month Kodesh. In other words, the truth is that not every single day of Nisan has a reason not to say Tachnon, but since the majority of the days have a reason not to say Tachnon, we say the whole month is holy. Now, the Chassam Sofer in his footnotes on Shulchan Aruch brings the question of the Achroinim, namely the Knesset Yecheskel in Siman Kuf Yud Zayin, and that is, they want to know, what about Yud Gimel Nisan? Because let's think about it for a moment. The first 12 days, you have a reason not to say Tachnon because the Nesiim brought their karbanos. The 14th day is Erev Yom Tov. You have 7 days of Pesach or 8 days of Pesach plus Isru Chag. But what about Yud Gimel? So, the Sefer HaMenhagim of Rav Isaac Tirna, quoted by the Kaf HaChaim, is also bothered by this question. And the Sefer HaMenhagim gives the following answer. That the 12 days in Nesiim brought karbanos, and the 13th day is Isru Chag for the Nesiim. And then the Yodalit already is Erev Yom Tov. But the question is, the whole question seems to be a difficult question. Because why do we need to find a reason for the 13th? We need to find a reason for the 13th? It would seem that even if we don't have a reason for the 13th, the majority of the month, still each day, the majority of the days of the month have reasons not to say Tachnun. Like we mentioned, the first 12 days, and then Erev Yom Tif, and then the 7 days or 8 days of Yom Tif. So why are we bothered? Why are the Achronim bothered? What about the 13th? Why does the 13th need a reason? So perhaps you could say that if you don't have a reason for the 13th, then you don't have a Roiv. And that's because you cannot combine minorities to create a majority. Meaning you have 12 days, and those 12 days is less than the majority of the month. And then you have Erev Yom Tif, 8 days of Yom Tif, and Isru Chag is 10 days, which is also not a majority of the month. Maybe in order to make a majority, it has to be a contiguous, consecutive majority, and two miuts will not be mitzaref to make a roiv. And l'chayro, you could prove that this is a valid svara from the month of Tishrei. Let's think about Tishrei. Tishrei has 30 days. And if you count all the days that you don't say Tachnun in the month of Tishrei, the majority of the month you don't say Tachnun. You have 2 days Rosh Hashanah, you have Erev Yom Kippur, you have Yom Kippur, you have 4 days between Yom Kippur and Sukkot. Please mute your phones. You have... Please turn off your phones. You have 8 days... You have 8 days of Sukkot, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have Isru Chag, so you have a total of 17 days besides Shabbos. And besides that, in Chutz La'aretz, you have 18 days. But the rest of the month, you do say Tachnun. So it has to be that unless you have a consecutive amount of time, which it itself is the majority, you're going to say Tachnun. A question you could ask, however, is that in Chutz La'aretz there are 16 days from Erev Yom Kippur until after Isru Chag. You have Erev Yom Kippur, you have Yom Kippur, you have 4 days, you have 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of Yom Tif, and then you have Isru Chag. So you do have 16 consecutive days, which is a majority, but maybe it is established based on Eretz Yisrael, but not established based on Chutz La'aretz. Now, again, if anybody's listening, please please mute your phones. Otherwise, we're going to have to disconnect you. So the question is, that let's discuss the 13th of Nissan. Again, the Sefer HaMinhagim said that the 13th of Nissan is Isru Chag for the Nesiim. The Shla says something very interesting. The Shla HaKadosh in Masechta Pesachim, the Shla HaKadosh says that on the 13th day of Nissan, the first 12 days, the Shla brings the custom of reading the Nasi of that respective day until Kenasas HaMenorah, and then the Nasi of that respective day, but says the Shla on the 13th of Nisan, he recommends that we read Parshas Bahaloischa until Kenasas HaMenorah, and this is Keneged Shevet Levi, like we find in the Medrash, that Aaron was mitztayer that he did not have a chelek in the Nesiim. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, don't worry, your chelek is greater than theirs because you are madlik and meitiv the Neiros. So it comes out, says the Shla, that the first 12 days correspond to the 12 Nesiim, and the 13th day corresponds to Shevet Levi, Ukadushas Levi Koilel Kal HaKadusha. So according to the Shla, the 13th of Nisan, although there are no karbanos in the Nesiim, nevertheless it is the grand finale of the Chanukas HaMishkan. It corresponds to Levi, and therefore the 13th also has a day that we would not say Tachnun. Now, the Chassam Sofer himself brings 3 answers to this question of why there's no Tachnun independently on the 13th day of Nisan. Says the Chassam Sofer, number 1, the Nasi of the 12th day, which is the Nasi of Shevet Naphtali, Achira ben Inan, the Achila of his Shlomim was 2 days and one night. So therefore the 13th day was the second day of Achila of the carbon of Achira ben Inan. Says Chassam Sofer, furthermore, according to the Bereshis Rabbah, the destruction of Sodom was the 16th day of Nissan. According to that, says Ifei Tayar, the Malachim came to Avram Avinu on the 15th of Nisan, which is the third day of his Milah. It comes out that the 13th of Nisan is the Yom Milasa Shel Avram Avinu. So what a wondrous day and wonderful day that is, because that is the day of the Milah of Avraham Avinu. Furthermore, says Chassam Sofer, he brings the sheet of the Maharimi Korbal, quoted in the Rosh and Arvei Psachim, that Erev Pesach came out on Shabbos, and Klal Yisrael shechted their Chagiga on Yud Gimel Nisan, and it was a Yom Tif, and therefore it comes out very beautiful. So those are an additional 3 reasons, aside from the Sefer HaMinhagim, that it was Isru Chag for the Nasiim, aside from the Shla, that it was the day of Shevet Levi. These are an additional 3 reasons. Now, if you look in the Masei Rekech of Elazar Rekech of Amsterdam, and the Chassam Sofer quotes him, as well as the Kaf HaChaim, that he is not satisfied with the reasoning of the Beis Yosef, that since the majority of the month has passed in Kedusha, so we don't say Tachna the whole month, because this Svara of Roiv is not mentioned in Masechta Sofrim. And if that's the case, it's considered, this is somewhat of an invented rationale, that Hol v'yatza Roiv HaChodesh be'Kedusha. And the Sefer Meiser Kech says this answer is missing from the Masechta Sofrim. And furthermore, the Masechta Sofrim says something that until now has not been explained. And that is, he says, also in the future, the third Beis HaMikdash will be built in Nisan. Well, what does that have to do with anything? And therefore, says the Maser Rekeach, he says something incredible, that in the future, Mechias Amalek will be on the 14th of Nisan. And we know the Gemara in Sanhedrin says on Chaf Amud Beis that first Amalek will be destroyed and then the Beis HaMikdash will be built. So that means first we'll have Yom Tif, and Yom Tif will be preceded by the Mechias Amalek, and then the Beis HaMikdash will be built, but Ein Ma'arvin Simcha Mesimcha, which is Gufa learned out from the fact that the Chanukas Habayis that Shlomo made, he made 7 days before Sukkot. So it will come out that La'asad Lavai, when the Beis HaMikdash will be built, when will the Chinuch be? Amazingly, there's 7 days reserved at the end of the month to make a Chinuch for the third Beis HaMikdash. Says the Maser Rekeach, it's not that Roiv of the month is Yatsa B'Kedusha. The whole month, Kula Yomer Kadosh. Because first you have the days of the Nasiim, and then you have the 13th, which we gave 5 explanations for, and then you have Erev Yom Tif, and then you have Yom Tif, and then you have Isru Chag, and the end of the month you have 7 days for the Chanukas Habayis HaShlishi, and that is what the Masechta Sofrim is mashma, when the Masechta Sofrim says, La'asad Lavai, Asad HaMikdash L'hibanois B'Nisan. Now, just want to point out as an aside, this little tidbit that the Masechta Sofrim says that the third Beis HaMikdash is destined to be built at the end of Nisan is not unanimously maintained. But if you look in the Malbim and Sefer Ezra, Perek Vav, Pasuk Tes Vav, that the Kadmonim teach us that after they built the second Beis HaMikdash, they were expecting the third Beis HaMikdash to come down min hashamayim, and the Chanukah of the Bayis of Yechezkel will begin on the 23rd day of Adar. And they, in the times of the second Beis HaMikdash, they extended the Chanukah of the second Beis HaMikdash till the 23rd day of Adar, expecting that the Chanukah would be of the third Beis HaMikdash on the 23rd day of Adar. So there is an opinion brought in the Malbim that the Chanukah of the third Beis HaMikdash will be on the 23rd day of Adar. Now, I want to bring to your attention the comments of the Aruch HaShulchan, who also brings in Siman, the beginning of Hilchos Pesach, which is Siman Tav Chav Tes, The Aruch HaShulchan says another reason why the entirety of Chodesh Nisan has independent kedusha and reasoning not to say tachna. Nisan is the beginning of the year. What is the greatness of Chodesh Nisan? Because that's when Yetzias Mitzrayim was. That's when Hashem revealed His hashgacha to His creations with oisais and moifsim. And He punished the Rishayim and He rewarded Klal Yisrael. Why this month? Because the Mitzrayim worshipped Mazal Tleh, which is the head of all the Mazalos, in the calendar of constellations. And Mazal Tleh services the month of Nisan. And Paro relied on Mazal Tleh. So even though Makas Barad, Paro subdued his heart and he said, Hashem atzadik v'ani v'ami arishayim. But when Makas Arba came, Paro was empowered and he said, the pasuk says, Vayigaresh oisam. And then Makas Choshech, Paro left with great chutzpah until he told Moshe al toisav ra'is panai. And the reason why Paro is becoming more and more bold is because Nisan was coming. And Paro trusted on his mazel. He trusted Mazal Tleh. And this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe. HaChodesh Hazeh, this month, that Paro trusts in. Lachem, it's for you. It's to show that I control the world. And I'm going to demonstrate there's no ein mamish b'mazalos, and that's Hashem ul ekim hashmayim ma'av mitachas. And because of the greatness of this month, the Mishkan was erected in this month, like we find in Pekudei. And the Nissan brought their karbanos. And the Asud Lavai, the Beis HaMikdash, will be built in Nisan, like it says in Masechta Soifrim. And that's why we don't say Tachna the whole month. And don't ask, what about the days after? But it says the Aruch HaShulchan, we don't need any specific reason. Kol, Chodesh, Nisan, Kadosh, because of the above mentioned reasons. Now I would like to just add one more reason why we don't have to come on to the rationale of the Beis Yosef that Yatsa Roiv HaChodesh B'Kedusha, and every day of Nisan has its own independent source of Kedusha, and this is based on a comment of the Shla HaKadosh in Parshas Boy, in Derech Chaim, Toiche Chois Musar Ois Chaf Beis. This is also brought in the Chasam Sofer Ala Torah, Parshas Boy. The pasuk says, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, this month should be for you, Rosh Chadashim. Rosh Chadashim. This month should be for you, Rosh Chadashim, the beginning of months. Rishon hu lachem l'chadshei hashana. Now, there seems to be an extra clause in this pasuk. It could say, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, Rishon l'chol l'chadshei hashana. What's HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, Rosh Chadashim? Says the Shla, Amnam Derech Remez. You know what it means? HaChodesh Hazeh Kol HaChodesh Kulai Hu Kamay Rosh Chodesh. Every day has Kedushas Rosh Chodesh. Not like other months that Rosh Chodesh is holy and the rest of the month is Chayil. No. Zeh HaChodesh Kulai Hu Kamay Rosh Chodesh. This month is entirely like Rosh Chodesh. Every Kol Yom Hu Kamay Rosh Chodesh. In other words, this is the meaning of the pasuk. HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. This month should be for you. The whole month should be for you. Rosh Chadashim. Every day has Kedushas Rosh Chodesh. And we're going to explain this more in the second half of the Shiur. But, based on the Shla, what we're learning is every day of Chodesh, Nisan has independent Kedusha, has Kedushas Rosh Chodesh. And in that case, we don't need to come on to the reasoning of the Beis Yosef and the Magen Avram, but rather, every day of Nisan has its own independent Kedusha, because every day has in it Kedushas Rosh Chodesh. Okay, so this concludes Maimer Aleph of the Sefer Maggid Harakiah, and Be'ez Hashem, we're going to take a short break, a 20-second break, and then we'll move on to the next chapter.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.